What is good movement in squash? Is it the ability to retrieve difficult balls consistently, or is it the ability to burst onto balls quickly to attack? While both of these statements are true, external factors such as anticipation and shot quality and shot selection can play a huge part in these things. With this in mind, I believe the best way to sum up good movement in squash is to be able to consistently arrive at the ball on time, on balance, with options. Let's break it down. Firstly, arriving at the ball earlier on time will naturally make the balance and option part easier to achieve. Next, being on balance is also a crucial component to having options, as well as being able to get back to the tee quickly for the next shot. On top of this, it will improve a player's efficiency of movement around the court as there's less energy wastage. Finally, having options means that the correct racket preparation is just as important as how well you move your feet, as there's no point in getting to the ball on time if you don't have a choice of shot, or if you're not even ready to hit the ball as your racket is down. It's important to remember that the term options doesn't only refer to having a choice of where to hit the ball, it's also about having a choice of when to hit the ball and how to hit it. It also allows you a choice of whether to take the ball early to take time away from the opponent, hit it at the top of the bounce for maximum accuracy, or hold the ball to break up the opponent's movement. So how can we practice our movement around the court? As you can see here, I've put down 8 different balls to signify each main location of the court. Each of these has its own distinct movement pattern. In this video I'm going to go through the main movement patterns you should learn for each area of the court, as well as ways to improve your speed and ability to push off the tee quickly. First we're going to look at the movement deep into the back corners. The key for this is that we rotate our shoulders before we arrive at the ball, as this allows our follow through to naturally go to the target area when hitting a straight drive. More importantly, however, it allows our swing to take us back to the tee, therefore saving a lot of energy and time. The smoothness and flow through the shot is the part you should focus on rather than the speed. Now we'll look at the movement to the back of the service box area. This is extremely useful as it allows us to cut balls off before the back wall, even if they hit low to avoid your volley. This takes time away from the opponent as well as trapping them at the back of the court behind you while you maintain the tee position. In order for this to happen, it is crucial that you keep your back leg anchored close to the tee zone as it allows you to get back to the middle quickly without losing balance. You should try to spread your weight evenly between both legs during the lunge for maximum efficiency, as it's a heavy explosive movement that will take its toll on the leading leg if it's not done properly. Like with the deep back corners, it's also important to tie your movement back to the tee with your swing to increase the speed and efficiency of the movement. The next area we'll look at is across the short line. While in match play, this will usually be used for volleying, the principles I'm showing in this demonstration remain the same. As you can see, I'm making sure I'm getting my racket up early and my shoulders are rotated as I approach the shot. I'm also sidestepping through the tee zone and keeping as light on my feet as possible to conserve even more energy. It's important to note that for all these movements, your racket should be prepared before you arrive at the ball. This means you're not rushed when you get there, which increases your consistency under pressure and gives you more options. The last areas to break down are the front corners, which, in my opinion, are the most physically demanding movements due to the need to run backwards to the tee after each shot. It also highlights any lack of explosivity in your legs, as well as the importance of having a good split step. Later in the video, I'll go through some exercises that will help to develop this. Notice how I'm trying to stay compact and low as I move back from the shot to keep my centre of gravity low. It's really important not to stand straight up after the shot, as this makes it almost impossible to push back into the corner if the opponent decides to hit it back there. A great way to practice these movements is to do long duration ghosting sessions at a slow pace. Ghosting is essentially doing all the movements and shots but without the ball. A session I would recommend to do is 30 minutes of ghosting non-stop but only focusing on the rhythm and flow rather than the speed. While this also doubles as an aerobic workout, the main purpose is to teach the brain the correct movement patterns. I like to think of this particular routine as a sort of martial art, as it's all about having control over the body and mind. Another important thing that I'm focusing on is keeping a good posture and not letting my head drop. This helps you to stay balanced so that you can get in and out of the corners easily without collapsing. It also means the angle of your racket stays the same, which means the quality of your shots stay high and you have more options. Don't worry about doing it in any specific order, as it's meant to simulate a rally where the ball can go anywhere. If you particularly struggle with a certain area of the court, you can try to move them more frequently until it becomes natural. Despite it being a slow, low intensity routine, as you get into the session, your legs should start to burn quite badly as you should be engaging the muscles with every movement to gain full control over each motion. In a rally, we have to be able to change direction at any point, so having that control is crucial to being a good mover around the court. Once we've worked on getting the patterns right, to the point where you feel comfortable doing them consistently in the previous drill, we can now speed it up and turn it into more of a high intensity interval session to closely simulate the movements at a match pace. The key for this is to go as fast as possible while still maintaining your balance and control. It's best to do this routine in an order. You can start with either the front corners or the back corners and work your way forwards or backwards through the court to all 8 areas, as you can see me do here. I would recommend doing 16 shots per set, so that's twice around the whole court. Then repeat this 10 times or more if you're finding it too easy. This also doubles as an anaerobic exercise which replicates the physical strain that squash puts you through. It can be useful to time yourself for each set of 16 movements, so you can see your improvement, as well as trying to avoid any fade or drop off of intensity throughout the session. The last thing I want to talk about regarding quality of movement is the importance of having a fast, slow, fast sequence to each shot. What I mean by this is that your initial split step and movement to the ball should be fast. Then as you approach the ball you should slow down, then after you strike the ball your movement back to the tee should be fast. If you watch the top players play, their movement back to the tee is often even faster than their movement to the ball. This allows them to be relaxed when hitting each shot, as they've done most of the hard work already after the previous shot. This leads to them being relaxed, balanced and having more time on the ball to select their shot. It also allows them to hit it with the highest possible quality. Now I'm going to go through some ways to improve our speed around the court and the sharpness of our movement. The first of which is skipping. Skipping is a great plyometric exercise that gets us on our toes and develops explosive power in our legs to allow us to push off quickly. This is obviously incredibly valuable in squash, as it's made up of lots of short, sharp movements. Here I'll show you a range of different routines that will be beneficial for anyone to do and will help build the fast twitch muscles that are so valuable for any squash player. The first routine is simply just trying to go as fast as possible. I find it easier to slowly ramp up the speed rather than going straight in. Notice how I'm trying to jump as low as possible to reduce the amount of time I waste in the air. I'm also trying to land as softly as possible. A great way to test yourself is to see how many skips you can do in a minute. My highest score is 190, so let me know if you beat that in the comments. The next routine is a bit more of a freestyle where I'm alternating legs in various ways. This focuses the load onto one leg at a time and isolates them. This will typically help develop your weaker leg more, as with the regular two-footed skips, naturally the dominant leg will probably do a bit more of the work. You can be creative with this one and mix up the order and how many times you jump on each leg. It's also great for coordination and it's a great warm-up before a match. The final routine is double skips. This is where you have 2 rotations of the rope for each jump. As you can see here, I have to do a couple of regular skips in between each double, as I'm not good enough to do it every time. Double skips are a great way to increase the power output of your legs, as you have to jump higher to allow the rope to go around twice. When learning this, try to mix it in with your normal skipping every now and then, until you can do it consistently. Then slowly increase the frequency of the doubles until you can do it every time. There's one more unique type of training that I'm going to show you today that will help your movement drastically. This may look like some sort of dog toy, but it's actually a reaction ball. The idea of this is that it will bounce in random directions when thrown against a wall. For this drill you'll need a partner to throw it for you. Get them to stand at the back of the court and throw it at the front wall while you're on the tee facing the front. You're only allowed to move once the ball has touched either the wall or the floor once. Then you have to catch the ball in your playing hand, ideally before the back wall. Even if you can't catch it first time, you need to chase it around and throw it back to your partner once you reach the tee. This forces you to react to a random bounce without much time to think and requires you to have an explosive first movement to catch the ball before the back wall. Typically, the lower and harder throws tend to be more difficult as you have less time to react. They also give you less time to rest as the ball doesn't hang in the air for as long. We can make it even more difficult by changing our starting position on the tee. The first one is having your palms flat on the floor between each throw. This forces you to push off from a more extreme position and will help develop different muscles. You should feel some intense leg burn doing this. The next position is to face the back wall. Just remember you're only allowed to move once the ball has touched the surface. This forces you to be even faster and more explosive with your initial movement as you have even less time. The last position is a combination of the previous two. Palms on the floor while facing the back wall. As you can imagine, this is completely brutal, but will help develop your leg strength and reaction speed in a somewhat enjoyable way. For all of these reaction ball routines, I would do 6 sets of 20 catches with a minute in between. This can be adjusted depending on your level, however. I hope this video has been helpful, and please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment below about anything that you might want me to make a video about in the future, and see you next time.